You all know this iconic red-clad scientist, and you all likely love to hate him. But the funny thing about villains is that they are capable of being endearing to some degree too. And the Doctor is no exception. He's the only character with a spectrum of formidability, ranging from Fingers to
Snively, what color is my heart?
Making him a rather complicated guy. So much so that he even recognizes that he is one, and states this very phrase in Sonic Lost World.
I'm a complicated guy.
If his multiple iterations with varying personalities weren't enough, the man has a modern and classic version of himself. Like Sonic, of course, but goes by 2 different names, 3 if you count SketchingGreyhound's Julian, despite being the same person. The man may be incompetent one moment and terrifying the next, but it's what makes him who he is. The silly side of the Doctor is entertaining at best and disappointing at worst. It's also the most predictable side of his personality, as it's usually his insanity that drives him deeper into a laser-focused hole that sometimes involves nonsensical plots to undermine his fearless blue foe when all other sensical plots fail. He has the best intentions in his mind that he is a competent villain. More often than not, he's quite the opposite. He'll talk a big game, but he's closer to a schoolyard bully than a true villain. He may be a pompous, bad-tempered, and cruel despot, but he's rarely proved himself to be a serious threat to Mobius and to Sonic, who always outsmarts him. We laugh at the silly Doctor's signature
I hate that hedgehog!
tagline, but when you consider that as a true cartoon villain, he's virtually incapable of achieving his goal, and then you start to understand why he says this with every defeat. Before I move on to the next section of this video essay, I want to briefly mention Boom Eggman and Robotnik from the movies. Honestly, I'd argue that Sonic Boom's iteration of the Doctor is far more silly and an even less potent threat than his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog counterpart. Or at least they rival each other, as this man is quite literally the only version to be friendly with Sonic in any fashion, even if there is an ulterior motive underneath it. Not to mention, no other iteration of the Doctor has ever experienced a depression or apathy of sorts in regards to his villainy, unable to do little more than be a couch potato. The writing of the show limits how dangerous Boom Eggman can be. Movie Robotnik is an interesting version of the Doctor, as he veers heavily towards the madness that the usually rotund fellow we know to possess. Naturally, this is in no small part thanks to Jim Carrey's familiarity to zaniness that he's portrayed in previous movies. Dare I say, this new iteration of the Doctor is a mixed incarnation of the Grinch and Ace Ventura. Once again, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog's Robotnik ain't got nothing on this dude. And judging by the progression from the first movie to the second, I expect that in the third movie, if the bad Doctor shows up, he will encroach beyond the level of zany we've yet to witness. The serious Doctor could easily make the silly Doctor quiver in his boots, which would be 3 times as worse as Snively's trembling in front of his uncle. He is as conniving as can be, never to be trusted, and will relish in comments normally reserved to be insults. This guy is not to be trifled with, as he rules with an iron fist. Literally. This side of the Doctor is never a bumbling fool, but he is just as susceptible to breaking down into madness. After all, he is a madman in all iterations. The notable thing about him compared to his other sides is that he is more ruthless and persistent, which makes for a twisted concoction of unhinged and bridled surge of unspeakable seething enmity for everyone other than himself, which cost him his own life in SketchingGreyhound. And to be frank, the serious Doctor is absolutely more terrifying and unpredictable when he loses his mind, and I don't think there has ever been a moment in his life where he was even a little bit sane. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and SketchingGreyhound have textbook definitions of the silly and serious Doctors respectively, but the scientist that all fans have grown accustomed to resides within the realm of the complex, as he is a mix of both and switches from either one when the moment calls for it, usually dependent on the writing and plot. On one hand, he has tried to destroy the Hedgehog and failed miserably more times than he probably cares to admit. On the other hand, should the world he's trying to control be in danger by someone other than him, he will put aside his villainy to aid his nemesis to salvage what he desires for himself. The range of depravity for the complex Doctor ranges from being the antagonist, if I can call it that, in Sonic Shuffle, to destroying half of the moon in Sonic Adventure 2. His narcissism and self-entitlement are transparent in all of his creations, But interestingly, he once looked up to his grandfather like a role model and was aghast at the idea of Gerald causing senseless destruction, showing that there is an ounce of goodness in Ivo somewhere deep down. And, as of writing the script, Sonic Frontiers is still fairly new to the franchise, and the Doctor's new AI companion, Sage, has elicited the most mystifying yet intriguing paternal side in him, absolutely never before seen in the 30-plus years that this franchise has existed, not even with Metal Sonic. However, even if there is any good in him, all he wants is complete control, so anyone causing more destruction than him would infuriate him, no matter who it was. Still, with how emotionally invested he seems in Sage, it does make one wonder if all of this villainy is nothing more than some ploy, at least for this side of the Doctor. It's unlikely, but I can't reason it out any other way. It just seems like he's good, but pretending to be bad. I don't know, it's confusing. The Doctor's madness is not as prevalent in his normal and more complex counterpart, but he does convey moments of it, usually after his childish outbursts of anger when he knows he is about to be defeated, and kicks his plots into overdrive. When he isn't acting like the silly Doctor and displaying comedic traits such as these, he taps into the serious Doctor to show he means business, such as near the end of SA1 and SA2, and this will often throw Sonic off just a little, like an unstable tightrope walker. But, to the Doctor's dismay, the Hedgehog rebalances himself and defeats him, which repeats the cycle of silly and serious. The Doctor is a melting pot of personality. He can be witty and hilarious, depressingly pathetic as a villain, fascinating as any other human being with desires and ambitions, but also openly violent and spine-chillingly and grotesquely ominous when he's done being simply brutal and amoral. Villains tend to be either flat and less threatening than a cranky, sleep-deprived Chow, but with our egg-shaped fiend, he's like a box of chocolates, or more appropriately, poison chocolates. You never know what you're going to get until he reacts. I have always found the Doctor's insatiable lust of power, dominance, and, since meeting Sonic, revenge, along with his unpredictable nature, quite refreshing and captivating. Even if he never fulfills his dream, or even when he has, these are traits that make up a true villain in my eyes. Whether he's loony or wicked, he will always be my most favorite villain and antagonist in all of media. Wait, before you click off, please leave a comment, then like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Also,
Don't forget to subscribe.
and turn on notifications. Links to social media and other stuff is in the description. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget, emptiness does not conquer dreams. Dreams conquer the emptiness.